Mr. Lehman?
We're good to go.
All right, I call the meeting to order. I motion that we adopt the agenda as mailed.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye. All right, so we are going to move to do old business first before we go back up. We have four people joining us tonight to in regards to our open board position. So first of all, welcome, thank you for coming. What we're going to do is we received your letters of interest. We've all had a chance to review those, so thank you very much. We'd like to have you one at a time just come up and give us, a 2 to 3 minutes of verbally why you would like to be on the board. Introduce yourself, and I think, does that sound good? All right, so Justin, we'll start with you.
You're fine.
I think that's fine, as long, I think,
Probably a little bit further
a
up.
little further up, maybe.
That way the camera will catch up.
Catch your
I don't wanna block Cory.
backside, yeah. All right,
Well, hello, I'm Justin Whalen. I'm a graduate of Osage City High School. Had 3 kids graduate from Osage City High School. I'm interested, I thought about running a while back and I didn't. Had a lot of things going on. Now I've changed jobs and things are going better, I have more time, flexibility, and I've worked with kids and nonprofit organizations for the last 20-some years. I work for Walmart right now. I'm outbound operational lead, so I run the shipping department there in Ottawa, or in Topeka, not in Ottawa anymore. But I want to give back to the community. I really enjoy the kids. I've coached. We do daycare. I've coached a lot of the kids that are in here, and a lot of kids before we got here. So I ran a youth football program for 11 years. I've also done wrestling and soccer and you name it, I've done about every sport. I've done quite a bit through the Osage City Lions Club. I'm the president of the Osage City Lions Club. We also, I've also worked with ECAT and different organizations to help them through their winter months, through their food drives and different things. My main concern, I'm just looking to do the best for the kids. And I've been involved and I want to stay involved. And like I said in my letter, there's some things that would have been really good opportunities that I've seen my kids that they did have available. But there were some that I thought, that could be available for them to further them in life, basically. I have no agenda to be here. There's no reason to be here except that I want to help. And if you would like me to help, I'd be more than willing to do it.
so does anybody have any questions particularly?
Okay.
I don't think I do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Gail. Would you join us?
Hi, I'm Gail Lohmeyer, and I know most of you. I spent my first year of teaching in this school, and I stayed for 23 years. I taught 2nd grade all those years, summer school, and then got my master's and went into school counseling. I spent another 10 years at Linden as a school counselor. And then I retired and thought I was retired and bought a food truck, and I've been operating that for the past 11 years. So barbecue is one of my hobbies, and then it became a job. In that time, I spent a lot of time with my grandkids. My husband and I have a blended family, 6 kids combined. They all went to school here. And now I have 17 grandkids. Well, almost. Kelly's due, so we have one more on the way, so it'll be number 17. It seems like I go to school events every night of the week, stay really involved through my grandkids and my kids. I've served as on the city council for 4 years, learned a lot. I went into that without an agenda, didn't know anything about running a city. I talked to some of you probably about that, how I would be better suited to be a school board member rather than a city council member. But it turned out kind of good, to be a good thing, because I learned that I wasn't an expert, but I found people that were employed in the city that were experts. And if I wanted to know something about recreation, I went to Corey. The department heads knew their job, and so it made my job easier as a city councilwoman. After I resigned from that to spend more time going to my grandkids' activities, it always met on Tuesday night, so I wanted Tuesday night free to go to volleyball. Took a job on the Planning and Zoning Committee on Wednesday night, and I think it's a different Wednesday night than this, so or we can arrange that. It was another thing I didn't know anything about, had never done planning and zoning, but I learned quickly, and I learned that I didn't really need to be the expert, I just needed to know the people to ask and to listen to people's concerns, and that was a big plus, I think. So I've been on that for a couple of years. And then now my husband is finally retired, so we've done some traveling and we're gonna do some more and kind of enjoy life. We have some irons in the fire too, so. I think I covered everything that was in my letter.
That's great.
Okay.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica?
All right, hi. I'm Jessica Dorsey, and I have lived in Osage City now for about 15 years, and my husband and I have 7 children, blended family also, and they all go to school here in this school district, and we really enjoy the school district. I'm from Kansas City, and so it's quite a bit different than from where I went to school. We had as many kids in my high school as you have in your whole district. So it was quite the change, but I've grown to really love it. I had wanted to run for the school board for quite a while now, but I told myself that I couldn't do it until I had finished my dissertation. And I have now, I submitted it, and so my defense is later this month, and then I'll have a doctorate degree in education, leadership, and policy studies from KU, and I work at the Kansas State Department of Education. I've been there for 12 years, held a number of different positions there around graduation, charter virtual alternative schooling. Right now I work for the Kansas Volunteer Commission, which is sort of a hidden gem within the Kansas State Department of Education. And our role really is just to encourage and empower all citizens to be civically engaged in their communities. And so I feel like it's my responsibility to model that, not only as the executive director of the Kansas Volunteer Commission, but also to model it within my community, and most importantly, to model it for my children. So I always look for opportunities for us to be engaged, to be doing service for other people, whether it's our neighbors or other community members. I also serve on the Parks and Rec Board. I'm active in Boy Scouts. I coached soccer, which I don't know how you let me be a soccer coach since I have barely kicked a soccer ball, but we came in second to last, so it was a really good season. But we had a lot of fun, and that was really great. So I'm just looking for opportunities to be engaged in the community and to give back. And I feel like it's really important. So I'm so glad to see that there's so many interested people here. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, PJ?
I feel like I need to go over here.
Yeah, that's a good spot, I think.
That's the spot. I'm PJ Heptonstall. I've met and worked with some of you in the past. I was on the board previously from 2017 to, I think that's right, 2017 and 2019, where I was this position then. I was nominated into the spot, so I've been here before. Kind of come in at a tumultuous time, for the board then as well as now. So I think we need to make sure we have stronger representation in the school, as well as people who are involved in the neighborhood or in the county and city. My kids, because we're dropping our kids out, I've got 3 here at the school, 1 in the middle school and 2 here in the elementary school. I do coach 3 ball teams, so 2 softball, baseball, help out with soccer in the fall, help out with fall fall football for the boys, flag football. So I'm involved, just like everyone else is. We're all involved, and like Jessica said, it's great to see everyone out here. It used to be you guys were begging for people to be on the board. So I think right now with our society, with everything going on, through COVID, there's been a bigger spotlight on how schools are functioning. And I'm glad more people in the community are taking interest. I don't think you're gonna go wrong with anyone here. I do appreciate your guys' time. I think, like I said, you guys know me. My letter explains everything. Want to make sure we have better representation in the school, better representation in the city. I think we can do better for our students. That's all I got. Questions?
So
Thanks, thanks.
Alright.
So I haven't been through this before.
So now the next step, yes, so I'd like to thank you all again, thank you, it was very nice. I would definitely say we have 4 very strong individuals that I think would do a fantastic job on the board, so thank you for your time. So what will happen is, we'll have a nomination and a second and then a vote. Just like just right now, this happens, we're the nominators and the voters. And if whichever nominee seconded nomination gets 4 votes first is would be sworn in.
Okay, so there's no discussion between the 5 of us just to talk through individuals?
Can't do it
Okay,
other
no,
than,
that's fine.
other than an open session.
I mean, we can discuss it in open session if you want,
Yeah, I just,
but yeah, nope,
I've
that's,
been
I
through
know,
it.
I didn't know either, so this is what I learned this week, so.
so I guess as I was listening to each of you, I was trying to think of, what maybe different perspective you might bring to the board because, if you've been following along, there's definitely been changes amongst the board, so I didn't know if any of you feel comfortable talking about maybe a different perspective that you might bring to this, or, any unique perspective. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, wasn't quite ready for what the process looked like, so I'm sorry.
I feel like my perspective, I've been a teacher, so I know the problems that the teachers have. I've been a school counselor, so I feel like I know the mental health part of it. And then I also feel like I was a parent of 6 kids that went through the school, so I saw the school in a different way, and I loved it. All those roles, they're a little bit different. And then as a grandma, which is way better.
So my background, I didn't say anything. I'm still in the military. I've been in the military for 21 years. My longevity, I've been through several boards. I'm involved out there at the base at Forbes Field, Air Guard. I sit on several councils out there as far as leadership councils go. So my perspective isn't from an education background. It's going to be more from a tactical of how can we identify an issue and find the best way to resolve the issue with minimal impact. That's going to create the best results for our students, and that's how I approach it. Military is really all I've known for the last 20 some years, so that's just where my perspective would be coming from, or is coming from.
Thank you.
I would say that I bring 2 different types of perspectives. The first is that I myself manage a board. So as the executive director, I have a board of 20 governor-appointed commissioners, and we don't get a say-so, the governor appoints. And so managing a board that's really diverse teaches you a lot about the type of board member that you would want to be yourself, and the types of actions that are going to be the most appropriate in order to be able to come to consensus and have compromise and those sorts of things. I've also gone through all 3 levels of the Kansas Leadership Center training, and one of their main tenets is around engaging the unusual voices. And so I always feel a responsibility to find out what other people are thinking, and so I think that would be a strategy I would also bring to the school board, is not just my own perspective, but talking to individuals in the community to find out what their perspectives are as well, because we're the representative for the community, not for ourselves.
I was a college football coach for 6 years, in the college situation, and it's much different than high school, and there's a lot of management that goes on, and I worked for Walmart for 26 years. And working for a major corporation, I think it's gave me a lot of background in what I've done since I started to now with engagement with people, working. The world is a different place, let me tell you, and things have changed a lot. They were 20 years ago. And I think I've adapted pretty well, and I'm a pretty straight shooter. I tell you what I think, and I'm not wishy-washy. I'm pretty straightforward. Everybody, I see people looking at me like, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. But I don't know, I know the kids, I work well with the kids, and that's what's important to me, and that's my main objective. That's something that, I guess that's my biggest thing, I'm here for the kids, not for anything else.
Thank you guys, sorry for putting you on the spot. That was good.
Alright, any other questions? So we can probably,
Are we allowed to ask questions?
I think so. I don't see why not.
We have two
Go.
new administrations, people coming on, administrators coming on. I'd like to know just how are you gonna support the administration as a new board member?
I think it's a,
Okay, good.
sorry, I think it's gonna be a learning position for both, I know the superintendent's got experience, but with the new principal coming in, so it's gonna be a learning experience, and being able to have a little bit of grace with the new administrators is gonna be important. Because they're not gonna have all the answers right now, they're not gonna know what the best role is or what the best idea is for the direction of the school. I think that's where we step in as board members to help try and guide and mentor those new administrators.
And I'd have to agree with PJ, we have to work together with the new administrators to get them to where they need to be, and I hate to say it, Tim, a lot's gonna fall on your shoulders to help out. You're gonna need a vote to help mentor them, but as a board member, we're gonna have to be there to support them, cause they're not gonna get everything right, nobody does. We're just gonna have to work with them and do the best we can.
I have been in the position where I've worked with new administrators coming into a district, and I was a school counselor. There's a lot we can do to support each other. And each situation is unique. But as a board, I think we need to stay positive and open to new ideas, and not be judgmental, and just support each other. And I think that will go a long way. Also, get to know each other personally and professionally, I think would help too.
I would agree with what everyone said, and I think I also bring a slightly unique opportunity in that I've worked with a lot of new administrators in my role at the State Department of Education, and so could be an opportunity to connect them with resources that I know about or trainings that I know about, while also supporting them as a board member.
Anything else? I know, this is,
I'm just happy we have really good candidates, so I really do thank each one of you for putting your letters together and sending them.
and coming tonight for sure, Dave, do you have any questions? Sorry, Dave Williams is on the phone, just to.
No, I don't. I think everybody's done a really good job of explaining their position, and I appreciate the fact that we've got some good candidates. I think you're all excellent candidates, and I'm glad that you have stepped up to want to take part in our board. Appreciate that.
Yeah, this is way tougher decision than I thought it was gonna be. No.
I personally appreciate that they're all here and that they all have the interest and they're willing to step up, and it sounds like everybody has the kids' interest first. I have worked with PJ on the board, I know how he works on the board, and I would nominate him as a selection.
Aye.
They-
Dave seconded if you didn't vote.
No, sorry.
Sorry.
Tough, but thank you guys very much. And now, can you answer me a question for me, Patty?
Sure.
Just to confirm, this would be through the term or is through the next election, just so I,
It's until the next election.
till the next election, which isn't this November, it's the following November.
Filing will begin, I think around June first of let me get my years straight here, 2023. And the election will be in November of 20.
Because we're all on 2-year cycle, I mean, it switches 2 years.
And then that position takes place January 24th.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That was-
Okay. You can read that. You can raise your right hand if you don't mind. Okay. Alright.
We have lots of books in here, PJ.
Alright, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Board Member Number 3, Position C of Osage County, Kansas, so help me God.
And the computers are not set up for you, but that gives you through.
Perfect.
the agenda. And you can go down and have a seat, probably just on the other side of Corey, between Corey and Kevin, with Dave Thompson.
All right, welcome. Delegation, do we have any delegation?
I don't think so, no.
All right. The treasurer's report,
Okay, treasurer's report.
I meant, we don't have any correspondence, sorry, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence? Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay,
I didn't
Moving
tell
back.
us.
we did get some state money on 5-3, general money, 312,000, in capital outlay. We also got, the bus sold on Purple Wave, the older bus on, number 14.
Fantastic.
And let's see, we got a little bit of title money over there, and beyond that, I don't see anything substantial on that. Second page, we did get some money from the Conrad Carlson Foundation. That money is, we're looking at that amount to help do a little bit of moving of some situations in the auditorium to help the sound. And that's what that will help us do. It won't do all of the things we need it to do, but it'll help a little bit. Also some title money under Title I. One of the things, obviously, that looking at bills and things that stood out was that our fuel bill has really taken it. We all know where that's at, and that's taken a substantial hit the last couple months and over the year. Payment of the, I'll just hit some petty cash. $172.95 for the elementary is needed to replenish, and for the middle school, $90.55. Payment of the bills, we're getting to the end of the year with certain bills being ordered. This was a rotation year for football uniforms. That's under BSN Sports. So the high school football, it was their turn for uniforms this year.
Thank goodness they were right.
They were at the end of their deal. Down towards the bottom of the page, content filter, it's iBoss. Actually, I'm gonna go back up. The Gaga Pit, we got a second Gaga Pit courtesy of the Conrad Carlson Foundation again. So I wanted to say thank you to them.
Did you say a new one or a change out?
A different one, an additional one.
Nice.
We'll have two.
Okay, great.
On page 2, only thing I really saw substantial out of the ordinary was the KSB Workers' Compensation Fund reimbursement, $14,000. went down towards the bottom. This didn't print out for whatever, I'm not sure why, I think it took too many characters, but at the top of page 3, we've got LED monitors for the business lab. Elementary lab is the first one, a replacement, and that's all with McCoy's. And then high school business lab computers and some smart board replacements with interactive TVs. So those, for whatever reason, and I went down those in order so you know what they kind of were, the bigger ones.
I can see it on my screen.
The cases, those are Chromebook cases for the students. Some of those are getting pretty ratty and old and need replaced. Power school maintenance, go down towards the middle of the page, $4,000 for that. Then the big one was the Three Lakes. We had the end of the year payment for Medicaid. Mostly that's catastrophic aid. There's some Medicaid of about $20,000 reimbursement and transportation that goes through there that we have to pay. So that drops our SPED payment, our SPED account down pretty low at the end of the year. Addendums, the general fund, looking at about 17%, a little tight, and that's remaining. And LOB, we got about 63% left remaining. Questions on any of those bills or anything else?
What was the general again, you saying?
17.
Wait, yes. Thank you.
Hey Troy, when do we start seeing the expenses related to, teacher or administrative requests? What are those? What do they put in for at the end of the year?
Requisitions?
That's it, yeah. Does
Those,
that just kind of?
we're kind of waiting on a lot of those. We've been processing those, but we're tight at the end of the year, so we're looking at those.
So looking at each one, just,
Mhm.
okay.
So they haven't been finalized yet,
No,
so they're not part of any of these bills.
no, not a lot of those. Some of them, these are some that we have to do.
Before then. Do the teachers have like a budget, just cause I haven't ever asked, do the teachers have like a dollar amount or
They get different categories of expenditures. We try to stay, primarily around, for the supplies, no more than about $250.
per teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
But
what
there's other
I thought I had heard
other
that.
categories.
But I'm just thinking more teacher supply, not like
Yeah.
athletic or,
No,
but just general,
it's just
Classroom supplies.
supplies.
250, okay. And so then we'll see all those probably next month come through,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So on that, is it just a set deal for every teacher? If they put in for $250, are they accepted or, how does that work?
Well, we go through those and look to see what they've ordered, and if it's, you have to look to see if it's something that they absolutely need or if it's a want. We look at some things like that. We haven't had to make cuts for a long time on any kind of requisitions, but we're looking at being pretty tight.
All right. Is that all on the treasurer's report?
Mhm.
Okay. I move we adopt the minutes of the special board meeting on May 11th, 2022. The treasurer's report of May 31st, 2022. Replenish petty cash of $172.95 and middle school petty cash of $90.55. I move that we approve the payment of the bills in the amount of $389,701.67 for June 8th, 2022, and May payroll in the amount of $474,254.37.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Dave.
Dave.
Sorry, aye.
No, you're right. Get off mute. Okay, new business. The PDC activity report.
That's just an annual report that we
Yep.
approve. It just goes through the number of participants and the amount of monies expended for PDC. 28, and this was submitted by the PDC committee and council. Dennis Fort's the chair, Marion Smith is the vice chair, Secretary Amy Linton, yes.
Lomar.
It says
No, the Amy Linton's the secretary, correct? Yeah.
And the bookkeeper's Amy Lohmeyer.
Amy Lilmar's the bookkeeper.
I'm just looking over. her
Josie Garland, Amy Parsons is a member, Chris Kirkpatrick's a member, Carly Spicer's a member, and Dina Paul's the administrator.
You'll see those are dropped into your files.
Number of participants, elementary 28, middle school 10, high school 22, district or other is 3, for a total of 90. And the amount of monies expended as of 5/26 was $12,598.42.
How do we get to 90? Hold on, maybe I need to page up.
I don't know, I'm just looking at what they have there. Is it not added up?
SC63.
Okay, I was like, maybe I'm
Our mental math is a little.
tired.
It's been a long day. Is let's see if I'm reading this right.
63. I don't know where the 90 came from.
Thank goodness it isn't like Mr. Bellinger that's in charge, or Mrs. Spicer, Ms. Spicer.
Threes in their own column.
Oh, he added up
Oh,
the 3
yeah.
as 30.
That's where we got that wrong.
Good job, Dave.
Sorry about that.
Okay, 63. Alright, that's just a,
That's
need to
just
know.
yeah.
alright, I believe we're going to have a KCTC survey.
We'll need a motion on the,
Yeah, we need.
Oh, we do- oh,
Motion to approve that
I move
report.
we approve the PDC report as presented with correction on the total number to 63.
Second.
I
Aye.
maybe.
Should be an extension cord that comes through.
How far forward can I go?
come over this way.
Okay. First of all, thank you for letting me come talk to you guys. Unfortunately, my information is not real fun, but that's okay. I'm going to be giving you guys information about the KCTC survey, so it's the Kansas Communities That Care. I'll give you a little information about it in just a second when I get plugged in here, but 6, 8, 10, and 12th graders take this. Let's see. Okay.
Plugged in the back.
This one. I do have an HDMI. Oh, there, let's
Needs to be
go.
plugged into number 1.
How does that look?
Same.
Awesome.
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
It needed to
Alright.
warm up.
Cool. Okay, so. Am I gonna be probably coming over here? Okay. Alright, so you guys can see, I won't read it for you, but essentially it tracks a lot of information that is really helpful for us as a district to know about what's going on in our students' lives. It talks about their families, it talks about their peers, it talks about how easy is it for them to get certain substances or alcohol in our neighborhood and things like that. But it also really focuses on depression and suicide, which is what I'm gonna be kind of talking to you guys about. So like I said, grades 6, 8, 10, and 12 take this survey. Parents can opt out when they enroll students, but we have very few. I mean, do we have any in the middle school this year?
Maybe like 3 or 4. 2 at the high school.
2. Okay, so it's a pretty good representation. So, One of the things that it talks about is it tells us what our risk factors are, and then it tells us what our protective factors are, and then what percentage of our students are at risk in those categories. So example, the community domain had the risk factors for it. The first one was community disorganization, which I had no idea what it meant, so I'll show you in the next slide. The rest of them are pretty understandably, easy to understand, low neighborhood attachment. Well, the district is at 48%, county is 41%. This is the percentage of students at risk, and then our state's at 45%. So I feel like that just means that they don't feel an attachment to our community, or there's a low attachment. For community disorganization, they ask these questions down here. How much do each of the following statements describe your community? Crime and drug selling, fights, lots of empty or abandoned buildings, or lots of graffiti, and the other question is, I feel safe in the area where I live. So our number of students that are at risk in this category has really risen. Why? I don't, 100% know, and you can see as a district, we went down, and then we went up, down, and then we went pretty far up. So that's what they consider.
And that's the state, the dark blue's the state.
The dark blue's
The state we obviously increased more
Yeah,
by far, but the state, that's
the
shocking.
state also
Yeah.
increased, quite a bit.
So that's probably the general sense of our world right now.
I mean, honestly, it kind of probably is. I think it most definitely has to do with that question, I feel safe in the area around where I live. That could really factor in. But this is what KCTC says could be a risk factor for our students. So I felt like that was important information. Another risk factor is in the school domain. This is the one that also kind of got to me, got me a little bit okay, we gotta do something here. There are low commitment to school. We have, in KCTC's eyes, we have 68% of our students have a low commitment to school. Therefore, that's a risk factor in their eyes. So, and if anybody wants to really dive into this information with me, you can actually click on low commitment to school, and I can tell you, it tells you exactly what questions were asked that show that that goes with that category.
Do you get to see if there's a difference between the grade levels?
I can see essentially not necessarily the risk factors as much as the I feel safe at school question. I can click on that question and I can tell you what did the middle school say versus what did the high school say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just wondering if
It
consistent, if it was consistent or if there was a difference.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the low commitment to school, is
Right.
it mostly
Is that mostly
the
high school, mostly
seniors?
middle school? Yeah,
Is it
mostly
the
seniors, yeah.
versus the sixth graders?
Yeah, very good. I mean, that would,
Do you think that COVID and remote learning and all of that,
the last time when we were doing our presentation over here, my question was, I enjoy being at school or whatever it was, and it was the one that went down, we had less students, and that's how I kind of felt about it, they were having the option to be at home, and now we're making them come to school, do they enjoy that? Maybe not. I feel like it's kind of hard to not put COVID at it as a reason. I hate to always
right?
blame things, but it has to have some impact, I'm sure.
Well, and our other schools, obviously the state hasn't gone as high as we have.
Yeah.
But our other schools that are similar to us in size and
Mhm.
demographics
And
and stuff do.
With this survey data, you can break it down by county. I don't do that very often, but then that would give us a little bit more of an idea of schools that are closer to our size, how they're doing. So that's the school domain. And then this is the peer or individual domain, and the one that I will highlight the most is their perceived risk of harm. So essentially, the questions are, how bad is it to someone's health if they vape one time? How bad is it to their health if they vape every day? Those type of questions. So our students are seeing the risk of harm to be not that big of a deal, their perceived risk of harm. So that's why it's saying there's a percentage of students at risk, because they're the one, there's a high number of kids saying it's really not that big of a deal to do it. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay, I'm glad you explained that, 'cause
Yeah.
I was thinking the,
Opposite.
yeah,
Yeah.
process.
So the potential risk of harm, they don't think it's a big deal. That's why it's a risk factor. Or that's why we have a higher number of students
So it says 51% of our students are considered at risk because they don't believe that those things are a big deal. And it does go over like vaping, alcohol, marijuana usage, those things too. Okay, we'll get some positive here. Just a second.
This
just
is
a
the most
second.
depressing thing.
Oh no, it gets worse.
It gets worse.
So the family domain is another domain that they talk about, and so this is one that's kind of hard for us, you know, because we can't necessarily change their parents, but or their family situations. Poor family management was the one that was the highest number of students were at risk. It says 44% of our students are at risk due to their poor family management. So, you know, I feel like that could be something that we could be doing is finding some ways to educate parents. We do that, like kindergarten parent nights, but you know, when we get to middle school and high school, we kind of stop doing those things because we feel like they're already in middle school and high school. But that is something that we can talk about, and I at the end talk about what are some things we can do to help this, and that was one idea that I had. So, some protective factors. So these are things that KCTC says, you guys are doing a really great job. These things will actually protect your students. And so in the community domain, 55% of our students they're called protected because they feel like community rewards them for involvement. So that was kind of an interesting one to me. I think that's kind of cool that they feel like over half of the students feel like the community thinks highly if they're involved. And we obviously want them involved because it keeps them out of trouble. All right, school domain. I also really loved this one. 73.5% of our students said they're protected because they talked about our school having lots of opportunities for involvement. And then the other one was school rewards for involvement. That one wasn't quite so high. And then healthy beliefs and clear standards. Okay, so this kind of contradicts, I feel like, the one we just talked about, because if they don't think it's that big of a deal to participate in these things, but yet they have some healthy beliefs, those things kind of contradict each other. But I still was going to highlight it because it's positive and it's good. So almost 65% of our students are considered protected because they do have healthy beliefs and clear standards. I think that's the end of my protective factors. Nope, one more. Family domain. Family opportunities for involvement, and that's kind of what I was just talking about. Now, this is the students' view of this, maybe not the family's view of if they have opportunities for involvement, but the family or the students. And 61.75% of students are protected based on they feel like their families have opportunities for involvement. But I feel like that probably still could help situations. So that's the end of like the protective and risk factors that it breaks down for us. Does anybody have any questions about those?
When did you put this survey out?
So this is the 2020, this is this school year's results. And they take it in January. Does high school do this
Before Christmas, we did it
right before Christmas? And this timing could kind of change. There's a bill that's going through the Senate right now that requires our district to outline whatever non-academic assessments we're going to give kids in within 4 months. So we have to, if we put this on enrollment as an opt-out, we have to give it within. And the Senate bill says that we have to also give the parents every question that's asked, which KCTC does supply that, so that would be easy enough, but some of the other things won't be. All right, so the questions that I really wanted to get into though and break down exactly where we're at is our depression and suicide questions. This is something that I feel pretty strongly about, and I feel like we are starting to do things to help this, but it's most definitely I thought it was really important for you guys to see these, kind of to see what we're kind of up against a little bit. And it's not supposed to be depressing, but it is a little bit. So this question is, during the past 12 months, did you ever feel so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row that you stopped doing some usual activities? If you don't know, that's kind of a typical question that a doctor would ask and diagnose a student as depressed or a person. And so we went from in 2021 at 32% of students to 39% in 2022. And as you can see, our district is just growing in that category. This is all grades 6, 8, 10, 12. And while it does take only those students' perspective, it puts us as a percentage across the whole. I'll show you numbers later, and it's in perspective to our whole middle school and high school. And so then it gets into questions about suicide. And so and the students, when they take this survey, they have different options for answers, and I'll kind of explain that as we go. But the first question, and this is like, if there's 3 tiers to this, like tier 1 is the most not, like tier 3 is the most serious, this is the tier 1 question. So have you ever seriously thought about killing yourself? So this is just, you just thought about it.
This is tier 1.
Yeah. And meaning it's like, I don't want to say it's not serious, but it's the less serious of the questions.
I'm following.
Okay, all right.
Just bracing myself for your more serious commentary.
So it didn't change dramatically, but it did from 2020 to 2021. And I mean, we have to wonder if COVID has anything to do with that. I mean, you have parents that maybe were out of jobs, or you have students that maybe they had to go to work, or you have maybe they weren't able to see people that they normally see, or whatever. Yeah. It seems like there's got to be some correlation in there. But so almost 32% of our kids felt this way and answered yes. Now the next question I'll show is they said yes in the past 30 days. So that's the other part to it. So their options are like yes, no, yes in the last 30 days, or yes in the last year. So our percentage went way up from 8.92 in 2021 to 14.05. And I kind of looked at this one, the one I just showed you, and I was like, well, not that this is good, but we're similar to everybody else. But when it comes to in the last 30 days, we're not that similar anymore. And so that was kind of a cause of concern to myself. And again, I know this is not real uplifting information, but I think it's really important that we all hear this, so that, like I said, we kind of know what we're up against, so.
How many students total did we survey?
So 6 and 8 would be what, 170? 6th grade, or
It's only 6th and 8th grade, so
yeah,
it'd be around 120.
in the middle school, and then high school would be, I mean, if you just take half, 100 and something.
A little over 100.
Does that break down to like class, like how many in 6th grade, how many in 8th grade, how many in 10th grade, how many in 12th?
I know it does by building, but I don't know that it does by class. And one of the reasons why, and not necessarily in bigger schools, but like in our schools, you start to get, small enough that I can't see anybody's like individual tests, like you're person A, you're person B. I can't see that. But sometimes they get worried that it would be not as anonymous. Does that make sense? But you can break it down by building.
So in real numbers, rather than percentages, we're talking somewhere around 30 kids.
When I get to my next ones, I give you some actual numbers. But yes, you're pretty accurate there. So then the next tier is not just have you thought about it, but have you made a plan? And when I talk to a student, when a student comes to me, these are the questions that I ask them and find out where are we at on this situation, what do we need to do? And so, again, we went up from close to 19% in 2021 to almost 24% in 2022.
And these are percentages of the kids that answered yes on the first
Yes.
part. Okay.
Yeah, and they answered, like I said, there's 4 options, yes, no, yes in the past year, yes in the past 30 days. These kids, 24% of our kids answered yes, they have made a plan.
Not 24% of the yeses, but 24% of our kids.
Of our kids.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Okay, so each question stands on its own.
Yeah.
Doesn't build. Okay.
Yes. And so then when we look at in the past 30 days, this didn't go up as dramatically, but I still feel kind of, it just doesn't feel good though. Obviously we're above the other levels, but it doesn't feel good that it's rising at all. And again, like we kind of talked about, we had a pretty significant. Now this 2020, this is actually pre-COVID because
You took it before the.
yeah,
Yeah.
we took it before everything hit. And so, you know, we had been going down, which is great, but then we have started to rise a bit. And then our last question is, have you actually tried to commit suicide? So this is, you actually went through with something. And yes, again, I mean, we almost doubled from 2021 to 2022. In the middle school, that being 15, while this does not match these numbers, that's because I broke it down by building to give you those numbers in particular. So in the middle school was 14.95%, that's 24 students. And in the high school it was 17.28%, so that's 38 students. And that is, have you ever tried to kill yourself? And you know, I know every kid kind of has a different definition of that, and I'm not sitting by each kid saying, well, no, that doesn't count. Oh, yeah, that does count. But in their minds, in their brains, this is how they felt. And I will say that KCTC, I went to a training on how they put together their surveys, and they do some things. I'm not gonna say this the right way, but like, if they can tell a kid's just click, that's thrown out. If they have a kid that answers something and then they might ask it a different way and the kid answers differently, they're gonna throw that stuff out. So if a kid is not being like truthful, honest, yeah, they will get thrown out. So that's just something to, so I mean, in my heart, I feel like these are completely true results of what kids are saying.
So what do we do about it?
We're getting there. We'll get
Okay.
there. Well, I don't have
Well, I didn't
the
expect to know
wand,
the
but
answers,
I have, hopefully some suggestions. So this is the one that hurts probably even the most, and this is, have you tried to kill yourself in the past 30 days? So at that time, we have 9 kids in our school supposedly saying that in the last 30 days, they have tried to kill themselves. So, like I said, not real uplifting information, but, and again, you know, when I saw last year and I was like 0.64%, okay, look, we're going down. But I mean, and I know it's only 2%, but I mean, you're talking about 5 kids' lives, essentially, or 4 kids' lives, or whatever, when you're just thinking about high school.
Well, it's probably double too, because you're only surveying half the
Yeah, I mean, well, and it does put the percentage to the whole school, you know.
And that's the 6 students?
That is, yes. Yeah.
Well, not that one is too many, but.
Right. Yeah, and you know, it's like, I kind of try to think about this, like when I'm thinking about my middle school kids, do I know 3 kids that have tried to kill themselves? I don't necessarily. I mean, I probably do for the whole school year, but not the last 30 days, you know? So how many kids, I mean, are these kids talking to their parents? Are their parents giving them resources? I think that's too how we can educate parents more, is how do you, if you're in a situation like this, I think so many times parents don't want to say anything because maybe they're embarrassed, or maybe they don't want it spread around the community or whatever, so they just hide it to themselves. Well, are they getting resources? I don't know. I may never know. And there's a lot of times a parent will call one of us and say, this happened, and we don't tell the school. Or, I mean, a lot of times, unless a teacher needs to know, unless it's impacting their classroom, we pretty much keep that to ourselves type of thing. So it's just kind of a scary thing. Things that I feel like we are currently doing. So we have started with our social emotional learning curriculum. I feel like this is going to be helpful to kids because hopefully it gives them strategies that they can use. You know, I remember doing a lesson in 8th grade this year, and it was about healthy relationships. Well, as we know, relationships is something that causes a lot of suicidal thoughts or depression in kids. And talking about those healthy relationships and what that looks like and how do you deal with that. That's something this curriculum can help with. In the middle school, we also do like a social emotional check-in, and it happens every first day of the week. And then the seminar teacher gets those results and reports any concerns that they have to me. That is actually something we've talked about, and I'll get to this, but the new counselor, that could be a position that they, a document that they have access to so that they can be kind of eyes on it, because there may be a day that the seminar they put it out there, but maybe they didn't get a chance to look at it or something like that. But making sure we're always paying attention to those things. We currently do a suicide prevention training at the beginning of school year for everybody on our staff. And then this year we also did one in, in February? That was really great, and that was for all of our staff too. Mental health days hosted by the high school. And then I know that, and I wanted to put this out there, I know that our teachers are doing lots of things in their classrooms that I cannot individually list that build those relationships and help students feel safe and build a rapport with their teachers. So I don't want to discount that, because I know that there's a lot of teachers doing those things, and I may not know about all of them. And there's probably more things that we're doing too that could be listed. Some suggestions that I have, we're hiring the additional counselor. One of the ideas that we had for this person was to create, with Kathy and I, a district suicide risk assessment, because sometimes we're using our own things, but a district one that you guys can see how do we assess those students, and then also building a protocol and like how, once we do assess those students, what is our next step? So, because like I know what I do in my head and Kathy knows what she does in her head, but like actually having that written out so that parents know what we're going to do if your student expresses any suicidal ideation. We feel like that would be really important for the parents to have that. Maybe they could even use it if they needed to or something like that. I feel like a social emotional curriculum in the high school could be helpful. One thing that we don't currently do that I feel like could be helpful is we do suicide prevention training for our staff, but we don't do it for our students. Like a lot of times parents in particular don't want their kids to hear about this stuff because they say if we talk about it, then we're putting those ideas in their heads. Well, this data shows that this information is already in their heads. We're not putting anything in their heads that isn't already there or talked about or discussed or whatever. But giving training to our students. What do you do if you feel like this? What do you do if you have these thoughts? What do you do if your friend tells you something? What do you do if you see something on Snapchat? All of those things, because those are things our students are experiencing, but we haven't given them the tools to that's a lot for a kid to take on. So, we also talked about having some kind of elective classes, and I don't really know how this would work, but that are based around current issues and situations that students are struggling with. We talked a lot about body image for girls and for boys for that matter, but just different topics that students are struggling with, having some kind of mental health type class that they can take to help with those issues. So, I know, real uplifting. I think we have a staff that really cares about kids and wants to do what's best for kids. And a lot of times when I hit teachers with this information and not just the national rate is this, that hits a little different than 6 of our students felt like this, our babies. So, they do really buy in, and I think that they would be willing to, go the extra mile to help with these situations. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I think based on the results and what we've seen, especially the increases, no matter if it's the state or just our district alone, would say that we have to. I don't think that it's a choice. I think we have to put some of these things in place, and it's not, I hope we can. This is tough to see. And we're here for the kids, and we're always worrying about stupid things sometimes. And this is what matters.
Yeah.
So I don't think we just try to think of these things. I think we figure out how to make it work and do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Did that survey they took, did it have anything that maybe presented any kind of triggers like social media or bullying within the school? Or
To help.
was there anything that kind of triggered some of these questions for them to answer the way they do?
I don't think so. I think that the people that, create these surveys and put these surveys together, they're researching those type of things, and I don't think so. I can't speak on each kiddo personally, but I don't believe so. But
But
again.
do we believe those are triggers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And are they asking the question, I guess, in the survey,
That's
were
what I
you
was thinking.
triggered to think of suicide because of
Yeah.
a social media post or being bullied?
Mhm.
Specific questions, are they in this?
I would have to go, it asks like 200 questions or 100 and some questions. So I would have to, but I can look at each specific, no, I don't know exactly. But this information it is really interesting to dive into, and I would be happy to like sit down with anybody and do that. There is some good things, it talks about, but the information that we take from it's not always so positive, but I can most definitely look and I'll let you guys know if I find something. Cause that would be,
It'd give us a starting point.
Be a source point that we can maybe dig into your elective classes to figure out, okay, what kind of social media training do we need to have for our students and
Or seminar, or just bringing
right,
people
some
in
some
or.
kind of little class, not even necessarily a class, but a little working group that you could bring kids in and talk about,
mhm.
these kind of issues, and for them to talk about it with each other.
Yeah.
Might kind of help alleviate some of those ideations as well.
Mm-hmm. I think too, a lot of times kids that are in these situations, they feel very alone, right? They feel like nobody else is going through this, or nobody else knows how I feel, or they feel like, a lot of times they feel like, my life will never get better from this or whatever. And so I do feel like, being able to talk to some classmates and hearing, oh man, I had no idea that she's going through that too, that just kind of gives them some feeling of having someone to support them. So,
Can I jump in, Darcy?
yeah.
Like with what she's done with like our counseling that we've done in the mornings during seminar, that's something that we talk about every single week. That is not, how many times have you ever gone to a conference and you've listened to a speech one time and then you forget it so many months later? That's why I think a class like we have talked about several times would be beneficial, because it's something that they're always talking about and feel a little more open about it, and it's not a one and done,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot it.
Yeah. I do feel like that would be more beneficial to kids. And a lot of times too, those situations give kids opportunities or courage to speak up. If it's only talked about once, they're like, oh, well, I didn't say anything this time. Well, if it's brought up again, that might be just that one more time that they needed to say, hey, can I talk to you or whatever. Yeah.
Darcy, do you know, so this is probably more of an Andy question, but everyone has a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Do we know if we're using trigger words that would let Andy know if
Yes.
someone's looking up suicide,
Yes.
someone's looking up kills?
Yes, so BARC is what we use as a district. The way BARC works is it most definitely has like a plethora of words and abbreviations and all those different things, because kids are, they come up with new ways to say things. But it like trigger words type of things, and then it sends, if it's severe, it sends like an email right away to admin, counselors, SRO, and Andy. And then we get on Fridays like a weekly bulletin that tells us how many things got evaluated that week. So it's usually in the for the middle school, it's usually like between 25 to 50,000 things BARC went through. And then it will give us an amount of 25 different situations that were needed to be alerted. And so then we go through and we can look to see, and a lot of times, it will come up if a kid emails their mom for Tylenol. It sends us something, but then anything bullying related, anything suicide related. I've read conversations that kids are having about a video game and I'm gonna off him. Well, that was they weren't really talking about anything suicidal, but it still triggered it to tell me that was the situation. Anything sexual related shows up. Am I missing anything?
Profanity.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. I usually come into Tim, I'm like, hey, Friday bark time.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Is that just the middle school and high school, or is that elementary school?
It is elementary school every once, but every once in a while I'll get something from elementary school, but it's like, sometimes it's like their list of spelling words or something. They don't have email capabilities, they don't
Communicate as much.
They don't know they have chat capabilities. A few of them do know they have it, but so then they just don't have, you know.
Now, is that on the computer itself, or is that just when the computer's on the school network?
I think I have gotten things from a unless I've gotten things from a weekend. So unless a kid is coming here and using our Wi-Fi, and that is an Andy question, because I don't know the answer to
I
that.
think if they're using our technology or our like email address, then
Well, did we get it during COVID? I mean, when they were home?
yes.
There you go. I mean, during 2020, they
So
were
it's
all
on
home.
our devices.
It's
but
the
they're
device.
using it on the device.
The school device.
Or the network, it's our
Or, you know,
device.
monitoring the email servers.
Okay.
So,
That, does that miss some things? Probably so, but yeah, so at least we have something, in
If
place.
they use their email account to purchase something, we get an alert for that. So it doesn't even have to be just something against their user policy too.
So.
All right, well, thank you guys. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Darcy.
All right. Rec reports.
Well, we're in the summer, baseball, softball games finally got actively played last week because of all the rain, and which everything's going pretty well. Concession stands kind of kicked into gear this week too with all the fans coming out. We've got youth football camp in early August, and then youth golf camp at the end of July coming up. 7-on-7 tournament will be July 16th, and pool, again, it's kind of been a little bit of a slow opening. I will say though that when it's colder and kids come to the pool, they do eat a lot. We've had they've already had 3 500 plus concession days, and we average maybe 1 a summer. So kids are coming to the pool hungry and with a lot of money to spend. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
But they had their first water aerobics session last night, and swim lessons has kicked into gear this week, and swim team practice, and so it's all full go for the summer. So.
All right. Admin reports.
I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
Summer school started Monday and for the elementary school, and will continue through June 24th. We have 59 students in the elementary school attending our Summer Stars program with 11 teachers, and one of those teachers being our bus driver too. Our playground equipment, some sad news, I think Mr. Hutton has expressed that to you. It will not be delivered till the end of July, and I've talked with the ATHCO person in charge of our playground equipment. He believes his crew can start installation as soon as the equipment is delivered, which is good news, but however, due to the late delivery date, the crew will still probably be working on the playground equipment when school starts. And it's not the ideal situation, but it is what we have to live with in today's world. Want to thank Julie Carlson and the Conrad Carlson Foundation. Mr. Hutton mentioned that in his beginning lines, for donating our new Gaga ball pit. When the weather clears up, I've contacted a dad, and he's got a couple of kids that is going to help him build that Gaga pit. So hopefully that will be up and running soon. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I think all of my staff is in place. Just a reminder, we've got Kaylee Hodges that has been, will be in 1B replacing Hunter Kraus, Chelsea Watson in 5C who's replacing Natasha Jenkins. Kim Atchison is coming on as the new interrelated teacher in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We had a kind of a switch of things when Mr. Wonder left his position in kindergarten, so things kind of switched that way. And Lacey Glover, pending your board approval tonight, will be the assistant Title I para. And I will probably be requesting 2 to 3 more paras from 3 Lakes when school starts, just to assist us with our large number of IEP students that we have in the elementary school. And that's all I have.
Middle school,
We did our honor roll at the end of the year, and we have 78% of our students were on the honor roll for the second semester, so that's good. State assessments, we got those results back, and all of our state assessments, we were at or above the state average in all those assessments again for this year. Summer school has started for the middle school also. We have seven students who are working with Mr. Smith, working on some things they needed to work on throughout the year on a class they failed. And he's doing over a 3-week session. And then we have 12 students who are doing a summer STEAM virtual academy through K-State. And that's with Mr. Baxter and Mr. Stuckey. They're splitting those kids up, so they got 2 groups of 6, and seem like they're having a lot of fun with that, and that's 3 weeks also. Summer weights and fitness also began this week, so there's lots of activity still in the buildings. Mr. Gantenbein and Mr. Boss head that up for the summer. That's all I have.
High school, we just got done with our honor roll as well. We had 50% of our students in honor roll. That's 3.5 or higher. That's a pretty good number for the high school. Edgenuity, credit recovery, we use that during the school year. We had 61 credits recovered this year. That means the students that had failed a class was able to take Edgenuity and pass that. And then 32 classes that were new courses that they didn't previously take and fail. But for whatever reason, either transfer or a new student that didn't fit the class into their schedule, they're able to take an Edgenuity class. And so 93 classes in all were passed this year in Edgenuity. So that is a worthwhile program, and it would be something we'd want to continue to do. Summer school did start this week. We actually had a couple students finish already. Because what we did, we identified students that failed a class anywhere from a 44% to a 59%. And so if a student failed with 58%, they didn't have much to do to get to their passing level. So they get their P and they're on their transcript and off they go. Now, when they do that, that doesn't remove the F off their transcript. That stays on their transcript. And then a new line goes in for credit recovery for that course, and then they get a P for the pass. So it doesn't replace the score or the class. We should have around 40 credits that could be recovered this summer. If all the students come and participate, and we've had good numbers, and if that's the case, that's 40 less kids that are gonna be taking Edgenuity here in the library. We can get them back into a classroom and take classes where they should be. So this summer school has been a good deal for the high school. Tech summer camp at Washburn Tech's going on right now. We're shipping some middle school students up there this week, and then high school will go next week. And it's I think it's just 4 days, or is it all 5 days?
4 days.
4 days, Monday through Thursday, and they leave here at 8:15 and they get back around 4:45 in the afternoon. So those students sign up and go to that, and it's a good thing. We did sign up for football jamboree again next year, and that'll be August 26th. It's the same night as Meet the Indians night. It's at Mission Valley. But our kids try to get done playing so they can get back for the Meet the Indians night, and so we can still introduce the high school football players, et cetera. And I would just like to take a moment and thank you guys for letting me serve for 19 years here. It's been wonderful. It's been, something I'd never been able to dream to do. And I just appreciate everything that the board and the school has done for me and my family. So appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. I move, we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:30 with the administration present. Patty can be in the office, and the rest out in the commons area.
Okay, OsageCity.com.
Yep.
Second.
Aye.
David.
He said
He said it.
sorry, he said it.
I led the charge.
He did lead the charge. Corey was was distracted for a second.
Just right now?
You have it now.
Bang. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're back.
We're back in open session. I move that we approve the resignation of Tracy Ensminger as a sixth grade teacher, the resignation of Chelsea Gardner as head high school volleyball coach. I move we approve Kathy Camarina as the high school Stuco sponsor for 22-23 school year. Approve Felix Nunez as the assistant high school wrestling coach for the 22-23 school year. Approve Lacey Glover as a Title I para for the 22-23 school year. Approve our additional counselor under the ESSER 3 funds to Shanna Smith. And approve Carly Spicer as the head volleyball coach, high school volleyball coach.
Second.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
I move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, supplemental position pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception in Tacoma. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at, how long do you guys want? Well, this is just one topic.
15, we can always go back in.
15 minutes, whatever that is. 8:47.
Second.
Aye.
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 And you're going to be
All right, we're back in open session with no action. I move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, supplemental position pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma in the open meeting. We'll resume in the boardroom at 9:10 with the administration to be present and Jimmy Bellinger. We would like to invite him. And I believe Todd and Kat will be excused.
Second.
Did I say it all?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Or you, Chris?
That's what, I was waiting, cause I was
Aye.
like, is that everything?
Thank you.
9:10.
Sure. I can't, my stupid face on my wall. just abstain. Thank you.
I mean,
Like us, right?
they weren't in here, yeah, they would have to.
Okay, we are back in open session. I wanna make a motion that we approve the recommendation of James Bellinger as our AD.
I second.
Aye.
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 I think we can do this.
Okay.
quickly, so
All right, we're gonna go, I move we go into executive session to discuss administrative positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under Coleman. The open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 15 minutes. 9:35 with just the board present.
Second, aye.
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 My drink is out. It's time to
You wanna review your motion, please?
10 minutes, guys.
Yeah.
I move we go into executive session to discuss administrative positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under Oklahoma in the open meeting room, Zoom in the boardroom at 9:55.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
We are back in open session.
So I would make a motion that we pay Tim Raymond a bonus of $7,500 and Dina Paul a bonus of $2,500 for extra duties they've performed throughout the last year as we've navigated through some challenging times.
I second it.
Aye.
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 Motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Before you guys leave, I do wanna say thank you and taking this job 23 years ago is the best decision I ever made. And I love the school district and I'm definitely gonna miss it. And
We'll miss you. Thank
So-
you.
thank you.
We wish you nothing but the best.
It's been the best thing best decision I've made for my family is coming here. So thank you.
Appreciate your dedication.
We should give them like a lifetime activity pass.
We should.
Hey, it didn't die.
We were supposed to get one, I still haven't got one.
I made one for me before I left.
Hey.
No.
Yeah, hey,